Let's get started. So, welcome to Managing with G. Marie. I am so happy that you guys are here with me because you could really be anywhere else, but you're here listening to the things that I have to say that promote healthy routines when it comes to parents and children and household structures. I believe that providing this to the community a different way for people to understand how moving in their day and understanding their children's psychology can help them propel themselves forward in their day to day activities, recruit their teens as teammates, and move forward to really just be able to conquer things later on in life in terms of just children watching their parents navigate life. I think that that is important. I think that we learn from where we watch and how we watch and who we watch. And today I have a super cool topic that I recently was having a conversation with a parent about. A lot of my lives come from these conversations, but I want to just give a little energy to the support toys that children use and acquire in their childhood, and really us too. I think that parents, adults, we have our own little attachments. Can't leave the house without our watch, or maybe having coffee every morning. We have our own personal attachments that we use to make life easier for us in whatever ways we convince them ourselves that they make our lives easier, or maybe they really are making our lives easier, right? And so for children, they feel the same way. And so they develop imaginary friends and they develop blanket buddies and they name their stuffed animals and take them places with them for the purpose of comfort. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I think that children have a lot to gain, a lot of benefits as it pertains to, security blankets, because that's really what we call them, security blankets. But, there's that comfort and that emotional support that is valuable. There's a sense of security and familiarity when children can just kind of always be able to attach to the same thing. Self soothing, coping mechanisms. For my son, we do a countdown, right? We do five, four, three, two, one. Sometimes we need to start over again. So I'll start from 10 the second time and give him 10 more seconds. And then maybe we need to start a little bit more. So I'll give him 15 more seconds. We try not to exceed 20 seconds. I don't think we've ever gone to 20 seconds, but this is the way that I am telling him to stop and calm himself and think about his feelings so that he can tell me what's happening through his words and recollection as opposed to screaming and tantrum throwing. And it has been very beneficial. We are thriving in that particular area, but he does have a security blanket. And so earlier this week on Instagram, I posted a photo of him and Tamu. And Tamu is his security animal, his security elephant. And he absolutely loves Tamu. And Tamu was given to him by his 15-year-old sister, who at 6 named her security elephant. They're both elephants, by the way. Her security elephant, in which she named Ellie. And Ellie was her security elephant. And Ellie literally went everywhere with her. And honestly, if I'm honest, my daughter's last heart surgery, she actually took Ellie with her, and she was pretty big, right? But this isn't like that isn't an inappropriate age attachment because it does not negatively impact her social interactions. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because I know it's like, oh, if she was like a really big age, maybe she shouldn't have this security blanket. I think that life for my children has always changed, in numerous ways, numerous times. And so I think that it's perfectly natural that my oldest had an imaginary friend. And then my youngest had these, security attachments through toys and blankets. And yeah, it's okay. Also, you want to use these attachments, right? You don't just want to let them go to waste, so to speak. You want to be able to take the opportunity that your child is attached to something that is incredibly important to now teach all of the good qualities of emotionally coping. So if your child is imagining that the blanket or the blanket toy feels the way they feel, then they'll probably want to make their toy feel better. Or now be careful now because they create everything for their uh for their security blankets, right? So you might say, "Oh, look, Tamu's crying." And he'll be like, "No, he's not." So just make sure that you're thinking about um, the ways that we use the security blankets for positive reinforcement and positive motivation behind a child just being able to like cope with their feelings or cope with their emotions. So all those things are important. If I think I'm going to eat something. Oh my goodness, what is happening with my technology tonight? This is crazy. Okay. So that's another thing. And then you want to be looking for like warning signs. So, yes, an unhealthy attachment that is conflicting with a child's ability to socialize with other children, that might be a problem. There's also times where I know in some families, the moment a child gets attached to anything that is not an animal or a pet, and we'll talk about those next, or a person, sometimes, therapy is like the number one option. For other families, not so much. But you do want to make sure that if there's been any major changes in a family structure, that a therapist is somehow involved in any process where there's coping required, or if there's a loss in the family, because sometimes that can extend the amount of time that a child is holding on to their coping blanket or their imaginary friend. So let's see. We discussed how children choose their own support systems, right? So, like I said, a big family change, a move, a new school, all of these things can be a trigger for just needing another piece of support. Sometimes it's an age thing, right? So around 3, 4, 5, 6, you'll find that uh the imaginary friends come into play. Hi. The imaginary friends come into play, and sometimes when that happens, it's because of a major change, or it's just because that's the age that they're in, or maybe it's, for some other reason. But all in all, you can about expect that between ages 3 and 6. And then the comfort of a blanket or a toy or a friend might come from some other type of discomfort. A child could be adjusting to potty training or adjusting to a new family member living in the house. So sometimes adjustment is something that triggers children wanting to lean on, support. Also, your animals in the home can very much so, hey, beautiful, can very much so be um, things that your children are mostly attached to. Now, if you have a dog, and that dog is hopefully going to live 14, 15 years, then it's great. The attachment is healthy and and it's all the same. But there are times where you just want to make sure that, there's like not inappropriate behavior between children and animals when it comes to being overly aggressive or, yeah, and being overly aggressive can be a sign of a child being too attached to an animal. So I know it kind of sounds a little backwards, but it can definitely be that. You also want to make sure that they understand the importance of how to care for an animal and how to be able to treat an animal with, you know, the same respect as, allowing it to eat and not getting in the way of its eating. So all of those important things that we teach our children, we also have to keep in mind that they get attached to our animals just like they get attached to anything else. So big family changes. And then when it comes to people in the family, children also choose their support systems by naming and renaming, right? So we might have 4 sets of grandparents, and every grandparent has a different name because children are really great at creating that individualized, uh, you know, bit of spice to separating who does what for them, or whose different roles means what. So, mom's mom might have a different name. I know my children call my mom Grand Grand, and then they call their father's mom Grandma, and so, or Nana. And so I know that those differentiations are also ways of children coping, children identifying their families, being able to kind of get a good scope of what everyone wants to be called, or getting a good scope of who belongs to them how, or separating, the different groups of grandparents. And so I noticed that that happens also. And so children build their own support systems. They really do. They pull those support systems together, and they are there to find comfort and to find a level of like just emotional support. And it doesn't mean that you as a parent aren't giving that emotional support. It just means that sometimes children find their own way to navigate things. So thank you for entertaining me. It's so wonderful to see you guys. Thank you all for showing up. I know you could be anywhere else in the world, but you with me. So thank you.